Hi everyone, I'm Zach Reinhardt, here to review the new For Tracy Hyde album. I'm gonna call it Heart. For Tracy Hyde is kind of a quintessential Japanese indie pop band with a little bit of a shoegaze influence. I saw the hype building for this band on their first album, which I bought but never actually got around to listening to. And I saw a lot of people really praising this newest album. And I knew it was going to be pretty poppy and pretty clean and probably not necessarily up my alley. But I've seen a lot of people kind of hyping this thing up, and I figured I might as well check it out. Now, like I said, this is my first foray into the For Tracy Hyde discography here. And I got a lot of what I was expecting on this album, which is to say there's a lot of very clean, slick, somewhat shoegaze influenced indie pop on here. But sadly for me, it did not live up to the hype. This album starts off with the song opening logo FTH Entertainment. FTH, I assume, means For Tracy Hyde. And this is a short, like 20-second long fanfare that you might hear at the beginning of a movie introducing the production company's logo before the opening credits. And it is certainly an ambitious way to start an album, but I'm afraid that the songs that follow it up don't quite live up to the cinematic grandeur that this song wants to set you up for. The second track, Theme for Heart, is a song that is meant to be kind of like an opening showstopper. It has these really big, kind of luxurious synthesizers and a very kind of spacey, reverby mix. The song has some very slick guitars and some kind of pitch-shifted vocal sampling that is reminiscent of like a future funk song of some sort. And the song tries to build into this really big, kind of luxurious, expansive climax that just falls a little flat for me, mainly because it's just so clean and overproduced, in my opinion, that it really just takes all the impact and soul out of it. And that is really probably my primary complaint for the majority of this record. It's just really sterile, super clean and perfect, and it just really hurts even the songs that I like on here. So if you're somebody who doesn't mind really glitzy, super clean pop production, keep that in mind for this review, that you're probably going to enjoy this a bit more than me, as the production is really a big turnoff here. But just because I do have a problem with the kind of texture and production of this album, that doesn't mean there aren't some really good tracks on here. I think that when For Tracy Hyde settles down into some more typical, simpler indie pop, I think they pull off the sound pretty well. It's not amazing, but songs like Echo Park and Floor, that do a little bit more of just a straight up indie pop sound, are pretty solid. The song Floor has some really upbeat, kind of sparkling guitar riffs. Echo Park has a little bit of a kind of indie folk vibe that reminds me a little bit of the band Lucky Old Sun, which is a band I like quite a bit. And much later in the track listing, the song Underwater Girl, while I feel like it's really hurt by the super clean production, there's a really solid guitar solo on here. There's some really nice just melodies in general, and I think For Tracy Hyde does the very typical indie pop sound justice. And surprisingly, the kind of obligatory dub track that so many kind of pop bands feel they need to put on their album is actually probably my favorite song on here. It's track 5 and it's called After Dark. This song has this really kind of loud, like boom bap hip hop drum beat to it that I think gives the song enough grit to counteract the really clean production on a lot of the other instruments on here. And I find this song to be probably the most texturally interesting song on the album. The bass is really slick and tight with the drums, and there's some really nice vocal harmonies as well, and a pretty solid chorus on this thing. But unfortunately, as I alluded to earlier, there are a lot of songs on here that really don't do it for me. The song Dedication is probably my least favorite song on here. Its chord progression and melodies are so bare bones and kind of pedantic that they seem almost insulting. I think the synths on this thing sound pretty gaudy as well, and the production on the vocal harmonies, the second voice is so EQ'd and overproduced that it hardly even sounds like a person singing. This song comes off as so kind of slow and simplistic that it almost feels like a children's song. And then we have the track Hobutsusen, which is one of the worst produced tracks I've heard all year. The song has these really loud, booming drums, which seems like something they might be able to do something interesting with, as it's something that's very unique on the album. None of the other songs have drums like this. But then they just do this really typical Japanese pop rock song, but the bass is like really distorted to the point where it's unintelligible, and there's these kind of twittering atmospheric synth noises going on in the high end that make the song kind of obnoxious to listen to. And the whole song, it's hard to even figure out what the hell is happening when they're playing. There are some clear melodies, but then everything that's kind of not in the exact foreground of the song is this muddy, unintelligible mess. And then there are the kind of pointless, go-nowhere interlude songs like Yubisaki Kyoku Sochi and A Day in November, both of which are these short, kind of spacey, atmospheric interludes, which come off as just like filler on an album that is an hour long and does not need any padding. And then the rest of the songs I'm pretty middling with. The song Ghost Town Polaroids has some nice guitar stuff going on and a decent chorus, but it's just so overproduced and kind of drenched in reverb that I feel like I'm on the other side of a wall listening to this song, and I'm not like in the room with the song. The song Tokyo Will Find You is this short, quaint little indie folk-ish number that for some reason tries to build into this kind of post-rockish climax that happens for like 30 seconds and then the song's done. It's a very strange structure to the song that I do not feel works out very well. And I kind of like the upbeat, somewhat punky energy of the song Teen Flick, but at the end of the day, it just sounds like a really bad Lady Flash song, and I'd rather just listen to Lady Flash. The closer, Halation, I do think is decent. It does this kind of indie disco thing, but it really kind of loses the plot in the bridge where the guitar comes in with this like shoegazy, reverby, echoey distortion that evolves into what is just eventually noise. But in the background, there's this like really super clean, overproduced acoustic guitar chords while there's just feedback and noise happening. And it's really a kind of strange moment on the album. But I think the chorus is all right and is a decent enough song. And overall, I'm really kind of middle of the road on this album. There are a few songs that I think are bad, and there are a few songs that I think are good, and then there are a lot of songs that I think are just kind of okay. Structurally, I do have an issue with the fact that there's really no discernible structure to this album at all. You could kind of rearrange these songs in any order with the possible exception of the first two tracks, and it'd all just be the same. But overall, this is an okay-ish album. If you're looking for some pop rock, some indie pop that is distinctly Japanese, has a little bit of a shoegazy vibe to it, go listen to Kinoko Teikaku's early stuff. And then I guess if you're done with all that, you can come back and listen to this. Yeah, I'm just not crazy about the production, and I think the songwriting is okay. So yeah, I'm feeling a 5. Yeah, it's a 5 out of 10. So yeah, that's me. This is the new For Tracy Hyde album. And, I mean, it was alright, but I'm not going to be listening to it again anytime soon. Alright. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I will see you guys next week for another review. Peace.